Today we're gonna skip the conventional opening, because there is something very serious I have to talk about with you guys, because this may potentially be the most deep secret of the Dungeon of Fear and Hunger. I am talking about the discarded ending. After Super High Patch Wolf video, Fear and Hunger is getting more and more content over the months, and I have to keep up the pace, so I always look for new stuff in the game files and potential funny videos that I can do. But one day, I noticed something while looking through the maps of the game, something that maybe wasn't intended to be noticed. A map called Map 130. It was a very simple map actually, it was just the image of Fear and Hunger Dungeon Night title screen, so I never really bothered about looking into it. But one day, while searching for more informations, I decided to open the little menu, and I was able to see another fortress, another entrance of the fortress. What could be present inside of here? And then, I decided to take a look. The distorted soundtrack, if we can call it like that, combined with the aspect of the dungeon, unusual we may say, from what you're used to, is able to create a deep sensation of anxiety. Or at least, that's what I felt. But anyways, let's see if maybe this husk is able to explain the situation a little bit. But the husk is only gonna respond with one single phrase. It's an evil message, but it has to be said. Being welcomed into this new structure with this particular phrase really gave me a chill down my spine, but I decided to continue regardless. And there it was, another husk, identical to the first one, maybe potentially the same one? He had a longer dialogue this time. He was talking about the death of his father, about how did he miss the funeral because he was busy spraying gas on the fish they caught the other day, and about the way the father died. Apparently, while spraying the gas, he had to say something to the father, which was unable to understand because of the mask. So, the father just removed the mask and got hit by the poisonous gases. The result was, of course, his death. The guilt from this event caused him to always perceive the vision of a coffin following him everywhere. At this precise moment I was starting to think, who is this person? The game refers to him only as person. But before speculating even more, I decided to proceed in the last chambers of this zone. In the penultimate encounter, Person talked about a particular feeling you perceive once you are inside of the darkness, that almost makes you paralyzed, unable to move, until you are one with the darkness, and from there, from the deepest darkness of them all, you are actually able to see the colors outside, never to be reached. And then, there was something that was able to scare even this person. The laughter and the lips of a woman. A woman? Which woman? Unfortunately for now, this question will not have an answer, but we can go to the final encounter with the person near a ritual circle, and what he's gonna say to us is very important. On contrary to popular belief, I did not create these dungeons. They created me. What you see is just me reflecting them. It's an evil message, but it has to be said. This is probably the most important and biggest piece of the puzzle up to now. This person is somewhat correlated to the dungeon itself, the Dungeon of Fear and Hunger. Either being its creator or an entity deeply related to it, for sure the dungeon is, at least from what he said, a reflection of his emotions. Before continuing, I think I should dismantle a small theory about the fact that this husk is just a little joke from the developer, and it was the idea that brought to the creation of an enemy in Fear and Hunger Termina called the Vial. You see, the reason there is this assumption is because if you talk to the Vial during the fight, and you say multiple times that you don't understand it, there is gonna be a coin flip. If you hit it correctly, he is gonna inhale his own poison and die immediately. Such as what the husk said in the first dialogue. But the situation is a little bit different. You see, in the dialogue of the husk, it was the father that was unable to hear the son, and that's the reason for which the father removed his mask, not in order for the son to hear it. So at this point, I think the vial is just purely a coincidence, And once you're gonna see the reasons for which I think this husk, the person, is related to a discarded ending of the dungeon, I'll make you give your own conclusions. But before continuing, we need to examine for 1 second the statue of the new gods present here in the map 131. As it says, there is a statue depicting the new gods here. Someone has written false idols here with blood. What? False idols? If you go into the normal game and you reach this statue, it is just gonna say save us, not false idols. There is something very wrong here with all of this situation. But the normal game is not able to satisfy my curiosity, so, using a very simple procedure, I was able to download previous updates of the game of Fear and Hunger. Specifically, I was particularly interested to 2 updates. The first one being the one which added Dungeon Knights. You see, the fact that map 131 was connected to a map with literally the title screen of Dungeon Knights made me think, what if this map was added there? So I downloaded that version, and I went in there. Yes, map 131 was already present in the version in which they added Dungeon Knights. And then my brain said, what if it was present even before adding Dungeon Knights? Because of that, I went and downloaded the very first update version of Fear and Hunger available on Steam. I gave a little glimpse at the maps, and there it was, map 130. Without the Fear and Hunger title, it was just the normal Fear and Hunger title. So this zone was developed even before actually adding Dungeon Knights to the game. It's not related to that. We got any information, but where do we go from here? Now we know the concept of this map was created much before the developer probably even started thinking about Termina. But it seems to be a dead end. And so I thought until I went on Game Jolt, downloading the demo version 5 of Fear and Hunger. It was the first time for me playing the demo, and I was surprised even by seeing the different sprites of Kahara and Darcy in the intro. And while in this version there is no map 130 available to us, there was another hint. If you go into the dungeon in this version and you examine the statue, it will say false idols. We found it! We found new information, guys! This means the story of the person was related to even before Fear and Hunger got a full release. Even before the real story you know from Fear and Hunger was created. Even before ending A, B, C existed. It was from a time in which the new gods were still depicted as false idols in the dungeon. And if you don't believe me, then you may just see what is the ending of one of the demo versions of Fear and Hunger. I will let the cutscene talk by itself. As you can see, events play in a very different way from what you're used to. This is part of the missed story of Fear and Hunger. Who knows what they were gonna do with this? Was Legard just a sacrifice to create the Tormented One? What was Nilvan trying to do? And what is the map 131? Well, after thinking about it, I have an explanation to this. Map 131 is what should have been present at the end of the whole dungeon. The end of it all. The end of the ancient city of Mahabre. Once you reach the deepest part of the darkness, even the last thing hidden from humanity is not hidden anymore. There is no more a sense to the dungeon, and so it starts revealing his true nature. The dungeon itself is a living entity, and since you are able to discover the deepest secrets of it, there is no reason to hide it anymore. It is able to change. It is able to change itself and the people around him. The dungeon created the person, after all. In this discarded ending, the dungeon was gonna throw his last resort at you. He was gonna throw the person against you. There was gonna be a final battle against the ultimate creation of the dungeon itself. But still, we still didn't answer to one question. What is the person? Or who is the person? Well, I could speculate on it, but there is something that is actually better explanation than anything that I could ever say. You see, from the very first version of fully release of Fear and Hunger, so from the very first version in which map 131 was available to the public, level 9, the Gauntlet, was reachable. And what you don't know is just a few steps over the corpse of bodies present near Gorogroth, or the god of Fear and Hunger, there is someone that is waiting for us. A faceless person is standing here. On contrary to popular belief, I did not create these dungeons. They created me. What you see is just me reflecting them. It's an evil message, I know. But it has to be said. And after this, there is gonna be a battle against the entity that we know as the god of Fear and Hunger. But even if the fight play as normally would, there is a very special line of dialogue once you finish it all. The true god of Fear and Hunger acknowledges you finally. I have to put some emphasis into this. The true god of Fear and Hunger. Even the god of Fear and Hunger we know is never referred to as the true one. So, does that mean the god originated from the girl is the false one, and this is the true god of the dungeon? It seems to make sense with everything we found prior. And then you want to know what is the reward for beating this gigantic and omnipotent creature? You get the S ending of the character you are playing as. And while this may seem interesting, there is something more scary you probably are not considering. After the battle, we collapsed. Everyone in our party collapsed. And now, what we are seeing are the best endings of the game. Immediately after we collapsed. No. This is just an illusion. What we are seeing is not real. This is just an illusion. The dungeon took us with person. We are person. Our fate was to dwell in these dungeons forever. I hope you like this theory, because I gotta be honest, when I started working into it, I got more and more intrigued every time I discovered new stuff, and even the jump between all the versions of the game really was very funny to achieve, and I was also able to experience stuff that was later on removed from the game, and even stuff that was added later on and was missing prior. But anyways, if you like this, remember to leave a like and subscribe to the channel to help me. And I will see you next time.